I feel a constant pressure to have everything all figured out. A pressure to know exactly what I want, where I'm going, and how I'm going to get there. But I don't know what I want to do with my life yet, and sometimes this is scary. But I think that it's not necessarily a bad thing, and that in some ways it can actually be good. I believe in living life the same way I make pottery. When I start out with a mass of clay, it's a blank slate. It has no form and no use, but it has the potential to become just about anything. I don't start out with an exact vision of what I want the final product to look like. I just go step by step and see where it takes me. Every time I wheel throw, the first thing I do is throw the ball of clay down as close as I can to the middle of the wheel. Then I use the palms of my hands to push the clay downwards and inwards until it stops wobbling and becomes centered. By the end of this step, I still have a lump of clay with very little form. But this is the most important step. This is the step that gets out the air bubbles that could burst and ruin the whole thing later. This is the step that creates a solid base. Centering takes time and patience, but without it, I can't make anything at all. I see my life right now as I see centering. It's still kind of a shapeless mass, and it doesn't have much direction yet. But now there's a solid foundation, so I'm able to move on to the next step. When I'm wheel throwing, this is when I start to give the clay a form. I push down the center, lift up the walls, and try to keep the clay even and smooth. I keep going, seeing how the clay feels, testing what happens when I pull it or push it different ways, until I create a final product that I'm happy with. I believe in following this method in living my life. I don't have a clear plan, but I have a solid foundation. I believe that it's just a matter of trying things and testing them, and seeing where the clay takes me, because I know that in the end, it will create a product that is beautiful. And even if there are mistakes along the way, the imperfections that they create often produce something more beautiful and unique than it otherwise would have been. I learned this from my mom, who vacillated between studying botany, folk dancing, and math before coming to find her true passion in architecture. I see this in the long wandering walks, which lead to the best secluded city cafes and to the most peaceful, breathtaking scenes in nature. I am reminded of it every time I throw down my clay on the wheel and let it start to spin. And I remember that as long as I start out with a strong centered base, I will still make something beautiful, even though I don't know what it will look like just yet. I just have to start lifting up the walls and seeing where the clay takes me.